Xbox Live has doubled their price, new robotic technology in these uncertain times, and a raffle at Newegg. Find out more on the Tech Summit Podcast, episode 21.
You got it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tech Summit Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Francisco.
And remember, everyone, if you are watching on YouTube, everything that you will see is right here at the bottom of the video, all our social media, and mine will be coming up very soon.
Yes, and that's exciting.
Right. And if you are watching, or excuse me, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts, all of that stuff will be in those respective descriptions. So we have quite a few things to discuss today. We already talked about a little bit there.
Yeah.
But top thing we probably have to mention here is Xbox Live going up as opposed to down, like some people rumor it would be.
Yeah, some people have even said doubling the price, cutting the value by half.
Essentially.
Yeah. So, Game Pass isn't starting to seem like such a great deal anymore.
Game Pass has not changed in price, though.
Not yet, but we're all kind of expecting it to happen.
So, first, give us the details.
Okay, so the details are essentially that Microsoft isn't technically offering a yearly subscription to $120. They kind of just wrote up their own thing about them very carefully considering the pricing of Xbox Live and their services and things like that. So instead, what they actually ended up doing is that they made the 6-month trial $60 rather than $30 or $30-something that it was before. So now, if you do want the year, you are essentially paying $120, but they don't technically offer $120 for the year anymore.
So basically what it comes down to is that 1 month is in fact $10, 3 months for $30, 6 months for $60, and there is no 12-month plan. But yes, the 6-month subscription being $60 guarantees that is $120 a year. That is in fact doubled from what it used to be.
Exactly.
Now, because you're talking about Game Pass not being a good deal, here I come out here being, once again,
Negative Nancy,
the shill of Xbox Game Pass.
Here we go.
The best
All
deal
right.
on gaming.
Hit me.
So, they have not raised the price on Xbox Game Pass whatsoever, and while some people are expecting it to, the bigger strategy that people are looking at is rather that they are trying to shift people away from Xbox Live Gold and more towards Game Pass Ultimate, which includes Xbox Live in it.
Yeah.
Now, a big plan to shift people over is to raise the price of Xbox Live Gold to the point where Game Pass is the better value, even though Game Pass does, in fact, on the usual basis, cost $5 more. It's $15 a month.
Right.
But the idea is you get all of these other games, all these games in like a little Netflix for Games subscription thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a matter of Game Pass going up, because as it currently stands, there's no plans to do so. It can and probably will go up in the future, but it's not like Game Pass is not a bad Game Pass is not a bad deal now because of that.
Got it.
Rather, their intention is to make it look like an even better deal, so that people jump onto that one instead of the Xbox Live Gold.
I think that's a pretty reasonable take there.
It is it's sort of not necessarily a marketing tactic, but it is definitely something that is trying to shift people over to something else that they would prefer people go to.
Yeah, that ultimately does cost more, but you do,
get more.
Like you still, you still end up getting more there. People aren't very happy about this, though, because, let's say for the people who already aren't that happy about having to pay just to play online, and maybe don't necessarily care all that much for Game Pass, even though you love Game Pass, I know, to those people that don't necessarily care for it, and they already begrudge the idea of having to play online, it sucks now having to pay double.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. And of course, Microsoft's tactic can also have its nefarious sort of things to it. Namely, that with Game Pass, you're not owning the games, you're just renting them.
Right, yeah.
So the idea here is to clearly get people towards, renting games rather than buying them. So, like, say, for example, Halo Infinite comes around. For a lot of people, they probably would rather buy Halo Infinite and then just get Xbox Live Gold for the $60 a year, as opposed to getting Game Pass Ultimate, basically renting Halo Infinite and then not having access to it anymore alongside the online when you end up having to cancel your subscription to Game Pass for whatever reason that might occur in your life.
Wait, but don't you already get free games just by paying for the online service for Xbox?
Xbox Live does have games with gold, but it's usually only it's basically akin to PlayStation Plus, where it's only maybe 2 games a month, and
I think
it's
that what
always a sort of
differentiates
mixed
the
thing.
two though here though, and I'm sorry to interrupt. Uh, I think that what separates the two here though is that Xbox, while subjectively they don't have the same quality of games, you do at least get to keep the games that they give you.
No, you don't.
You don't?
No, for Xbox games with Gold, you don't keep the games either. It's same thing as PlayStation Plus.
Really?
Subscription ends, your access is gone too.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, by
Well,
all
never
means,
mind that
yeah,
then.
Game Pass Ultimate is by far the better deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that yeah, by doing something like this, there is that nefarious possibility that they sort of railroad everyone into this one plan, which is a fantastic plan, but can in fact go up in price or maybe even degrade in price because as we've seen now, a lot of gaming publishers are now trying to make their own Netflix gaming services. You know, your Uplay Pluses.
Right.
EA Play, which was already kind of there to begin with. Like EA Play was there before everyone else.
Yes.
Innovating, I
Yeah,
guess.
definitely.
Um,
Pioneering.
Pioneering. But yeah, so like it's entirely possible that the service can decrease in quality in the future. Maybe that's what happened. That's what happened with PlayStation Plus. Once PlayStation Plus was required for online play,
Mm-hmm.
the quality of games and the amount of games significantly decreased.
Yeah.
So there's definitely that possible concern for Game Pass going into the future. But right now, I don't think that's really cause for concern because the amount of games that we're getting right now is still fantastic. Again,
Okay.
I'm not an Xbox guy; I'm a PC guy. But
You're still a shill.
but on Game Pass PC alone, we just got Control on there. We're getting all the Yakuza games, all of them.
I can sense your smile.
But yeah, so it's like it's still a really good offer. I'm not even trying
Yeah.
to be a shill because I love Xbox. No, it's just it is honestly the best possible deal.
It is a really good deal for sure. I mean, if you're on Game Pass, you do get a whole library, and they're constantly adding games to it.
You just get all of Microsoft's exclusives from the get-go on both PC or Xbox.
A bunch of Final Fantasy games that recently made it to Microsoft's platform too. Like you do get a lot of really good value from it. Oh no, my microphone.
So about that.
Oh, what happened?
Now we're gonna turn the tables around on Game Pass.
Tell me.
Game Pass had announced in late 2019 around the Game Awards that they were going to put all the 3D Final Fantasy titles from 7 up to 15, and that includes the 13 trilogy, all that stuff.
Okay.
As of today, we only have 7, 8, 9, 15,
So you're missing the 13 trilogy, you're missing 12, and you're missing 14
10.
and 10.
Yeah, I'm missing 10. I don't know if they're including the MMOs. I don't know if 11 and 14 are going there, but
Oh no, 11 definitely not. But
you know what I mean. I don't think 14 is going there either.
yeah.
But
That's
so
highly
yeah,
unlikely.
those are the titles you have right now,
Mhm.
and they just recently announced that 15 will be leaving Game Pass on February 1st. So before we got all the 3D Final Fantasies, one of them's dipping out.
Why is the industry so hell bent on killing off 15? I'm so sad.
I don't even think it's hell bent on killing it. I mean, it can't really kill it off. I mean, there's still sales for it all the time.
Yeah,
You
but
could pick up Royal or PC edition, whatever. You could pick that up for like $17 right now with episode art on the Humble Store.
okay, so here's where my frustration comes from and why I say this. I'm happy that it does constantly go on sale and stuff because it gives the incentive for people to want to try it out even more. But I mean, Square Enix just straight up said, yeah, the director Tabata is leaving Square Enix as of I think either late 2018 or early 2019, and they were like, yeah, that season 2 of DLC that we planned for episode Noctis, Luna, and Aranea, we're going to axe those. There's no more season pass 2, okay? We're just not going to work on them anymore. So we only got to pay actually double for only a quarter of that season pass because we only ended up getting one of the 4 episodes that we were promised, which was episode Arden for the main villain. And while we were used to paying $5 per episode, this one cost 10. It was well worth the money though, at least. But I mean, that was just step 1. And then they decide, well, no more support for Final Fantasy 15 at all either. No more mod support coming from Square Enix either, even though they did create a mod tool for it on Steam. So, that also really sucks. deep learning super sampling. We wanted ray tracing to come over to it as well, but only deep learning super sampling, and it still feels like a beta because it's only available on a 4K display, like only at the highest end. So only you can test it. I can't. So that's another thing that already kind of, a bit of a red flag for me. And then you have something like this. Yeah, 15 is leaving Game Pass.
Yeah, 15 is leaving Game Pass. Of course, that is Square Enix.
Yeah.
That is Square Enix that's doing, making that decision, of course. I mean, I feel like 15 has gotten a lot of support over the couple of years. I mean, yes, there's not a whole lot of content that has been made for it after a while, but like, I felt like there was ports everywhere. It was like the face of Final Fantasy for a very long time. They had the mobile ports. They ported that mobile port to the Switch. Final Fantasy 15 is on basically every single platform. It was one of the first titles to show up on Stadia.
That is true, yeah.
Like 15,
and I do remember buying it on
15
Stadia.
is everywhere, but when it comes to actually the creative stuff, I'm guessing that. Now, keep in mind, I'm new to Final Fantasy, so I could be talking out of my butt right here, but
No, it's fine. Go for it.
The Fabulous Nova Crystallis, Fabula. There we go. Thank you. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, that entire arc or sub-series, it seems like it was an experiment that ultimately didn't really work out for them the way that they wanted it to, because 13 ended up being so divisive. The sequels were even more divisive, and in some cases panned. 15 was, critically kind of, appreciated, but, again, with the fans, divisive again. And so, they kind of decided, let's just clean our hands of the entire thing. Let's start over with something entirely new. And that's where 16 is coming from. So
yeah, 16 does feel like quite a departure in a sense. Like they're kind of moving away from that modern setting that we've been seeing from Final Fantasy games from 13. I mean, even 12 to an extent, if you want to count airships as that, but nah, not really. And then 15 with like you riding your Lamborghinis and stuff, and like stopping at gas stations and that kind of thing. I am going to miss that, of course, but I do look forward to Final Fantasy 16 a lot. And Remake Part 2.
Of course.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, back to the original subject, Xbox Live Gold going up is, of course, pretty bad for people who just want to be able to play online.
Yeah.
But it does seem as part of a bigger plan to just try and get everyone to go onto Game Pass Ultimate as opposed to an Xbox Live Gold of any sorts.
Yeah, I do see that. People are pretty pissed right now. Obviously, eventually that is going to die down. What I see happening from this is just that more companies are going to try to justify doing the same thing. Like Nintendo has been selling their crappy online service for $20 a month a year. $20 a month a year.
$20 a year.
Yeah, $20 a year. I am so sorry. Yeah, $20 a year. They're probably going to be like, oh, well, our service only costs a fraction of what Xbox Live's costs. Let's raise our prices. Sony is probably going to be like, well, if Microsoft can do it, we can totally do it. And it's true.
Oh, Sony absolutely will try to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So do expect those prices to go up. And that's just sad. But
it's really sad, especially because they're not offering a product akin to a Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
They're not, they don't really have that kind of alternative.
Yeah, right. But with that said, sad times for Xbox players at the moment, and we should expect to be sad if you're on another platform. But there's something even arguably more interesting in the tech world right now, and that has to do with robotics now.
Of course. So
go for it.
Running back to our little very slow snail's pace CES coverage. Doesn't even get to complete that because we haven't completed the coverage.
With time we will.
Yes. So, of course, we are living in these uncertain times, registered trademark. And something that has really stepped up to the plate to try and develop in response to this stuff is robotics and various companies like that. Namely, the one that I want to focus on is Ricci. The name is Ricci.
Educate me, please.
Yes. Ricci is the robot that is being developed by Pollen Robotics, a French company.
Okay.
Now, Ricci made its debut. We'll say his. Ricci made his debut last year's CES, 2020.
Oh.
But there's been a little bit of more advancements, developments, and even some changes for Ricci, based on this stuff. Now, the thing is, one of the strengths of Ricci is that it is an open source robot.
Yeah.
Meaning that so long as you have knowledge of Python, you can create all different kinds of apps for it, and it has a lot of support for other open source platforms, including Unity, among other things. And so, like, there's a lot of potential, and I guess sort of built-in mod support, if you want to call it like that, for it. Now, Reachy has multiple different pieces, of course,
Yeah.
and what you purchase and how much it costs, of course, depends on how many parts you want. Like, if you want just the arm, but if you want the entire setup, so we're talking about 2 arms, torso, and a head with cameras and stuff like that, we're talking about maybe about 20,000 euros.
Okay.
Very developmental.
Okay.
But Reachy has a lot of different functionalities. The ability to grip and hold on to things presents itself. Because of the eyes and face that it has, a little more emotive.
Yeah.
Of course, those eyes are cameras that can also sort of track and respond to objects presented to it, people put in front of it. And
Does it recognize people?
yes, it can recognize people.
Wow.
Of course, and of course, a lot of this stuff can also, of course, be developed even further because, again, it is open source, akin to a Blender, akin to a lot of these other sort of, engines or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It is an open source.
So they could essentially have like a community base, like around Reachy, just like developing for it and trying to make it better. Ah, there it is.
Yes, absolutely. It's Reachy right over here. Yes, a little cute little thing. Basically, a slightly more humanoid Wally.
Yes, I was going to say, I don't see fake skin on that face. It's just 2 giant glasses.
Yes, no, this is not a case of trying to reach the uncanny valley whatsoever. This is trying, because the thing is, that is a concern with a lot of these developers when it comes to making robots, especially, again, in these uncertain times. You do not want to be crossing over the uncanny valley and making these almost but not quite human-looking robots. That's just not something they want to see. We want to see more. Humans want to see more cute or appealing faces, and in a lot of cases, like Reachy here, that means don't give it a nose, don't give it a mouth, just 2 eyes of alternating sizes.
So you guys heard it here first. It's Furbies are officially dead.
This is actually like studied. Studies about the uncanny valley, very interesting stuff. Shows like what humans positively or negatively respond to. Namely, that if it looks close to human but not quite, humans have an internal response of like fight or flight.
Yeah.
They inherently will not like it.
Yeah.
In most cases,
Yeah. I can definitely see that. I mean, imagine just like seeing a strictly fake human in front of you.
Yes.
Even just having like a mannequin in my room would probably be creepy enough.
Exactly. So Reachy has a lot of potential as it is for being open source, for having all these little technologies. Usually the arm is like a little claw almost.
Okay.
So it can grip things, apparently hold up to 500 grams or so, which is not all that great, but obviously you can add more attachments, fully customizable.
If it's more like a claw, it sounds like it would use 4 of its fingers at the same time, like a ring, index, etc., and then have
is legitimately just like this. Like,
oh, okay.
It's not. There's no fingers on that one, on that hand.
I see.
But again, as you can see here,
I mean, there are fingers, like they just operate as one.
This one has fingers here.
Okay.
This is a new attachment.
Okay.
Like, this actual human has a new attachment. Again, it's a fully customizable robot, which means that if, say, for example, another tech company decides to buy a Reachy, they can. Yes, they can develop that, or even just a tech startup in San Francisco. They can develop Reachy into like having different attachments, different commands, stuff like that. There's been a lot of things that they show that they can do. Things like greeting customers and giving them like a form to hand out.
I think that'd be cute.
They've advertised the ability to do certain things, like say for example, the menial and mechanical tasks in the medical industry. So like say for example, handing over possible forceps or whatever, or signing in forms. Menial tasks like that don't require as much thought as more just a mechanical thing of like pick thing up, give thing somewhere else, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Now, this is the stuff that has already been in development since last year.
Right.
Pre-uncertain times. But now, post-uncertain times, we've gotten the new development as of this CES that there is now the ability to control Reachy using VR headsets and hand trackers.
Oh.
And
I wonder how that would work.
Yes, and with that possibility, like you put on the headset, you put on the hand trackers, and then you can control.
You can become Reachy.
You can control Reachy's head. You can control the arms, gripping things and stuff like that. And the idea behind this particular support is that it can actually be done anywhere in the world, provided you have an internet connection.
Interesting. Wait, so wouldn't they have to be connected to the same network in a sense? I mean, that's kind of how a lot of Wi-Fi based tech works at the
I'm
moment.
not actually sure in this instance. That's something I want to like look into more and develop more. Honestly, I'm probably gonna make a little Ricci corner for this podcast going forward.
No problem.
Just because Ricci is extremely interesting. The only drawback so far with Ricci, ignoring the usual robotic things where it's like it's not quite fast enough yet, or like obviously you have the mechanical whirring, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The only drawback right now, and I think that's something that they're going to fix really quickly, especially in response to these uncertain times, is that there is no one has yet made, like, say for example, wheels for Ricci. Like Ricci is usually placed on a pole in a static position in a static place.
So he's just a torso going up.
It's a torso going up.
Okay.
But at the bottom is really just like a stand, and that's usually about it.
Got it.
But I imagine in response to this stuff, we can see Ricci maybe getting legs or like little track wheels or whatever it may be, because the obvious thing in these uncertain times, I keep saying that, registered trademark, is to be able to use Ricci with a VR headset to.
We should actually copyright that sentence.
Honestly, but we should do to get Ricci to like do tasks that you cannot do because you are either A, incapacitated, or B, trying to keep yourself, locked inside so that you aren't incapacitated, trying to avoid any possible terms that may ring off YouTube's bells.
Right. Thank you.
But yeah, so like the obvious, the end goal here should be to get Ricci the ability to act as sort of like a surrogate for someone.
Yeah.
Like say, for example, if they need to go to the pharmacy to pick up medication, you can just put on the headset, take Ricci and like maybe either enter coordinates or just like use a joystick to like control Ricci as he like crosses the street or whatever.
I just like pushing people. Like
Now-
people try to like go around him and his shoulders are just so broad that
A
he
little
just
bit
like
that, yeah. Honestly, yeah, break someone's collarbone because someone's trying to mess with them. And Ricci is also advertised as having both a speaker and a microphone.
Good.
Which means that it's entirely possible that, future development, again, this is all stuff that could be possible through Python scripting, Python coding, Python, very difficult. I have to learn that for myself for Autodesk Maya stuff, for things like FX.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you use Python, you can easily create some of these things where maybe you can then use like the VR headset microphone to then speak and then have that come through the speaker on Ricci.
Yeah.
So again, you go to the pharmacy and then through Ricci, you are saying, hey, I'd like to pick up a prescription. And you can see all this happening because, again, Ricci has cameras.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of stuff that really interests me, especially in response to what has been going on over the past year. Like, it's clear that robotic technology is moving forward in a big way, especially to act, again, as surrogate people or to perform tasks that people may not want or be able to do.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of issues that can crop up with this, namely the issues pertaining to automation in the workplace and the potential job loss that can come from this kind of thing, and how do you deal with that? But that is a different subject that is to be handled by people above our pay grade and above the sphere of what Tech Summit Podcast is supposed to be, especially because, once you start talking about those things, you end up talking into the realm of politics.
Right.
And this is not a political podcast.
That's correct.
There are books out there about this stuff. There are articles about this stuff. And while I personally find it very interesting, it also feels like something that should not be discussed here.
Yeah.
I'm here to simply talk.
I agree with that. Thank you.
I'm here to simply talk about the potential that robots like Ricci could have. Now, there's other stuff too, including a fully like bionic arm that is completely separate and is supposed to be a bit more articulated with actual fingers. I think there is actually a picture here. I'm not as familiar with this one. We can easily cover it in another time. The tactile telerobot.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's all the stuff that's going on right now, and that's fantastic stuff that can be coming around during these moments and this uncertain time. Registered trademark.
It is exciting and scary at the same time, for sure. Because I'm sure that people can just like come up with a bunch of reasons why this would be useful, and a bunch of reasons why this would be just very scary.
Now, do you think we should open up a Kickstarter, try to see if we can get our own Ricci for the podcast?
And just have him in the middle and just
Yeah.
go, hey, Ricci, what do you think? I think your opinions are great. Keep them coming.
It would just do like a very cute. It actually does have like
Let's give it
little
like a Furby set.
It actually does have like little antennas on top, so it almost looks like it looks cuter because it's just the whole thing.
Or we just have like a ghetto version and it's like controlled by like puppet strings and we just like pull it like this.
Just make it
like under
a
the
Nintendo
desk.
Labo Ricci.
Yes, that would be great.
Nintendo Labo Ricci.
You know what? New Kickstarter idea. We're gonna make it happen.
Yes, but I am going to have sort of break the bottle on the ship here for the SS Ricci Corner, which is what we're going. The Ricci Report. That's what we're going to call it.
The
We're going to
Ricci
call it the Ricci Report.
I think it should be a recurring thing.
So yes, whenever there is news on Ricci, count on me to reach out to everyone.
Yes, it's his
And
corner. I'm
really,
just
yeah.
here to react.
The Ricci Corner, yeah. Francis is going to be here and just be like, yes,
Oh yeah,
that was very interesting.
And
And I will shift things over to you because I'm over here giving you an info dump right now.
which I appreciate. Thank you.
And now it appears as though you have quite a bit of information to give to me.
There is, though I'm also still a little bit puzzled about this in all fairness. So like don't feel too bad.
Speculative then.
Well, I mean, this is something that is actually happening. And this article comes from PC Mag, written by Michael Kahn. So, Newegg says, we're beta testing a new raffle system to get in-demand products to our real customers. The purpose of today's test was to gather and evaluate all feedback so we can improve the overall Newegg Shuffle experience, the company said. The initial test was comprised of combo items with additional combo savings. Based off the feedback, we can assure you that future Newegg Shuffle events will include single items in addition to combo items, it added. Newegg plans to fine-tune the raffle system before determining when it'll appear again. However, it remains unclear whether the Shuffle events will replace all sales for in-demand items over the site, such as the RTX 3080 graphics cards and AMD Ryzen 5000 CPUs. So, going back to the original story, essentially what happened is that Newegg, because they've been struggling a lot regarding dealing with bots, or I should say lack thereof dealing with bots. So their solution is now to have a raffle system. Kind of reminds me of what EVGA was doing, which is how they had a first come first serve thing, where like you would sign up, and then once you got the email, it would let you only go in and purchase the graphics card. You had like a certain window for you yourself to go in and purchase it, which is, I mean, the process was a lot slower, but it at least helped guarantee that actual people got them, and you can only buy one graphics
So it's
card.
like it was like a virtual storefront where one person was allowed in the store at any given time.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it was pretty restrictive in that sense, but it was what needed to be done, I would argue.
Right.
So you know, like there was that. It didn't stop the fact that there were still a lot of shortages regarding graphics cards and things like that, but it did help out things when it came to their end. Like EVGA received probably the best PR out of any other company. MSI, I'm sure, received the worst, considering what one of their subsidiaries tried to do some time ago,
Yes.
scalping their own cards. And now, back to the original story here. How do you stop scalpers from buying the latest graphics cards and computer processors? Electronics retailer Newegg is responding with a lottery system that will dole out the in-demand products to participating customers. The only catch, well, it seems you have to buy each product with a motherboard. So it looks like they were selling these parts in bundles with like other things. And, you know, it was more so like a shuffle system. On Wednesday, the company briefly posted a webpage for the Newegg Shuffle event, which users on Reddit spotted. The system works like this. During a 3-hour window, consumers can enter a lottery for the in-demand product they'd like to buy. Newegg will then draw winners on the same day and notify them via email, removing the first-come, first-serve approach. The winning consumers will then have a short 2-hour window to complete the purchase, or the reservation will be forfeited. Based on the webpage, the retailer used the lottery system on NVIDIA's RTX 3080 graphics cards and AMD's Ryzen 5000 CPUs, which have been out of stock at all major retailers. However, none of the items could be bought individually. According to internet users who viewed the site, instead they had to be bought through bundled deals, raising the total price. So,
I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
I really don't like that. You know, if you're trying to buy a car, that doesn't mean you also need a motherboard with it.
This doesn't really help the scalping issue so much. It just makes it so that Newegg can kind of like capitalize on selling these graphics
It just
cards.
sounds like they're trying to unload stock on items that aren't usually selling as well.
Yeah, sounds like if anything, they're taking advantage of the situation here.
Now, I understand what it could also be. It can also be a bit of a deterrent for some of those scalpers, in that, someone who's trying to scalp a card may not also want to pick up a motherboard with it. So it's kind of a deterrent because it's like, okay, yes, you get to scalp the card, but now you have a motherboard just laying around. What are you going to do with that?
Well, to them, I'm sure it's still going to 100% be worth it, no matter what, because they can make up that cost by doubling the price of the
Right.
graphics card that other people will certainly buy.
Well, yeah, of course.
This
I do.
point.
I do understand what Newegg's just trying to do, even though it might not work. I just think it's
Yeah.
not the way to go about it for people who actually just want the cards.
It feels like, excuse my language, but I mean a half-assed attempt here at making that happen. Now I don't think we have to censor that. Like it's not
I
as,
don't even think we don't have a censor.
unfortunately.
We don't.
Yeah, we haven't done enough work on this soundboard.
We
here.
really, we need to add some sounds, especially for the Ricci report now. But
Oh my goodness, yes, actually, that would be so fun. Let's do that. We actually have multiple pages available here. But anyway, that is neither here nor
Yes.
there. So, it does feel like a half-baked approach to trying to stop that. Like, it seems like it's really something that would benefit Newegg more than the actual consumer at the
Right.
end, because I mean, scalpers can most certainly afford to buy an extra motherboard with that graphics card, and they can still sell that motherboard as well.
yeah,
They don't even have to scalp it. Like, they can afford taking a small loss of that motherboard for taking a much bigger win on that graphics card.
yeah.
So this doesn't really do much.
Now, of course, there are some places where stock is starting to regulate and sort of normalize a little bit. In
Yeah.
some places, namely Micro Center. Just yesterday, I was out with a couple of friends, and they managed to just walk in the afternoon, just a random afternoon, and walk out with a 3070.
You see that? Those are happy stories for sure.
Those are very
and
happy
it does
stories.
happen.
They are not common stories yet, but
Mhm.
the fact that it was happening relatively like that's a very nice thing. They were able to just walk in and be like, "Do you have a card?" And they're like, "Yes."
Yeah.
It wasn't a case of like, "No, you have to show up at this time doing this thing." It's none of that.
Yeah.
You have to wait for this drop. It was just straight up just, yes, we have that card in stock. Now, of course, that is Micro Center. Micro Center is not a common, store for a lot of people. That, that's obviously, a bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
Of course, we also have the news, and we should probably cover that at some point, that GameStop is planning to try and do PC building stations of their own in certain locations.
That's awesome.
We
That's
should
really cool.
probably cover that and go into that a little bit more at some
Yeah.
point.
I actually did not know about that, so thank you.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, that is part of why there's been that old craze about GameStop stock possibly going up. One of the reasons is because they're possibly going to jump into the PC market and cover that ground where, places like Micro Center can't reach.
All right. It looks like like the superiors over at GameStop are starting to make strides. It is a good idea to try to break away from consoles right now, especially when stock is so bad.
It's also especially good for GameStop to be able to try and do something like that when
Yeah.
Newegg is pooping the bed quite often here
hmm
and doing a lot of these things. That's really tanking their overall, goodwill with gamers and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, goodwill is something that doesn't really exist so much in 2021, considering that all of it kind of died out for so many companies in 2020. CD Projekt Red, I'm looking at you, buddy.
Of course. Nevertheless, the actual goodwill is in fact still open.
Yes. So to support goodwill. But with
I
that
don't know.
said,
Yeah, anyways, yeah. So,
yeah.
do we have any more details that are be coming up, or what else?
It mostly just says that Newegg is looking to do the same thing, not with bundles, but just with like graphics cards on their own, like individual products and things like that in the future. Not necessarily right now, but it does appear like this is just, again, a half-baked attempt at doing so. And who knows? Like, there are so many scalpers out there that it is very likely that they're the ones that are going to end up getting the window to actually make that purchase, especially if they can have so many emails made at a time and just like submit on all of those.
Right.
They could very well still take the market by storm. This doesn't really help that much, I don't think.
Is it possible that something we can do to combat bots is to allow signups for only specific email domains? Because obviously there's a lot of those email generators online that I'm imagining a lot of bots are using, where they just kind of make these fake emails that are just, something at blah, 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 .com. Whereas instead, maybe they can just restrict, sign up for certain places, like say, for example, only Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, stuff like that.
Maybe, or maybe
Like you can only sign up or get a card, or you just purchase anything there at all if you're using emails from these respected domains.
yeah, or maybe just somehow keep like a whole influx or flood to come in from one specific source. Like let's say that this whole bot operation is being operated from one computer. Let's say let them sign up once and then block all other traffic coming from this particular device. Say something like, "Oh, you've already
Device or IP
registered something."
address? Because
IP address could work.
I mean, because then you're running into but then you're running into the issue where, let's say, for example, two different people on two different devices in the same household end up not being able to like each get their own thing. That's when you run into the issue. You can't IP restricting like that is where it gets a little troublesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess so. But
are you really going to deny little Timmy the ability for him to start his first PC build just because you decided you want to get a 3090?
I mean, at the same time, as somebody that I only have sisters,
Theoretically.
yeah, theoretically, and let's say that they really don't care about computer hardware. No one else in my house cares about computer hardware. They don't. Like, that's not really going to be a problem for someone like me, for instance.
Right.
Yeah. But I guess for somebody else, for somebody that might have a younger brotherly sibling, that could be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, granted that this is even within the budget because these graphics cards aren't super cheap anyway. But yeah, like it's just an idea being thrown out there.
Definitely. But of course, ideas are just sort of tools of the trade, especially at these uncertain times. Again, Newegg's trying their own thing. Ricci's trying their own thing.
Yeah.
Well, I say Ricci. It's Pollen Robotics, the actual company. They're trying their own thing with Ricci.
Unless Ricci one day owns the company.
Ricci has taken over.
Yeah.
And of course, Ricci has decided now that it is time to conclude.
Indeed. There are just so many news to cover, so many things to do, but we are going to be coming back again on Wednesday for you guys, so do keep an eye out for that.
There are going to be more subjects. We might talk about, say, for example, the GameStop PC building stuff. Now, there is also a new graphics card coming from NVIDIA that you want to talk about as well.
Yeah, the GT 1010. It is a very interesting one and one that a lot of people kind of hate right now.
I know. But of course, it's very interesting. Of course, if you guys are watching on YouTube, social media is right down here at the bottom of the video. If you are listening on all of the podcast platforms that we're available on, that's going to be in the respective descriptions.
Of course. And now, with that said, do make sure also to come into the Tech Summit Discord. I would love to see you over there.
Naturally.
Have your takes naturally. Now, with that said, this has been Francisco.
And Chris.
Until next time.
Good night. Travel well.